Hello friends, so here is the second part to our walkthrough. I just wanted to let you know we're on spring 3. We have today where we're going to get our axe. We're going to be doing a lot of tree chopping. I'm going to take care of these seeds here. You can see they're just a little bit set up differently than in the last walkthrough. I realized that I had spelled my name wrong in the last walkthrough, so I restarted, spelled my name correctly in this walkthrough, and now on the second walkthrough, so that I could continue on our finishing our tutorial walkthrough, I just wanted to show you our turnips. I got them this time in the square that I wanted them in. Now, one thing you'll notice is these turnips have a star with an amount that's filled up and looks like a blob that fills up, and it's actually, I believe, a flower that tells you how the quality is as well as the health of the turnip, which the health just lets you know how close it is to being able to be turned into a mutant if it's in the right conditions. So the turnips can mutate into like the heart of earth, I believe, here, and in the summer area. I think it's more likely that it'll turn into a heart of earth in the summer when it's warmer. These are the seeds that we got last night. I just put them in this nice area like this. So these are going to be ready to pick tomorrow. The turnips are only need 4 days before they're ready to pick. And this little bed that will be available here, we're going to fill it up with flowers. And so this is probably for the short while going to be full of different types of flowers, just so that we can unlock the Lechtenberry Village stars. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, the Lechtenberry Village, we've got a little bit of the very first star unlocked. It is locked at 3 stars, even when we take and get our hole in the wall so we can go out into the world. The reason for that is that it requires you to unlock the Lechtenberry Festival and help the traveling merchant be able to travel to be able to increase your stars past 3. And each time you get a full star, things like this will have additional items on it, more recipes. I believe we have to have our very first star before we get our first recipes. It's either that or we have to save Neil's father and bring him back. Now, I want to bring your attention to this broken down home. This building right here is one of the ones we're going to have to rebuild. And as you can tell, it uses a lot of lumber. Now, even cutting down every single tree in this area and not leaving a single tree left, with all of the villages and upgrades and things we need for our own farm, we are going to need more lumber than all of the trees in this little town have. I am just taking this time really quick to gather the close by mushrooms, speak to all of the people to get our relationship bonus. The small amount of stars that we have already is just from speaking to the villagers, since we have not unlocked requests nor shipping in this storyboard time right now. So the nice thing about that is you can see it is slow progress, but it is progress to unlock the very first star, and we're only on the 3rd day, which is nice. We're getting there. Now, I'm going through the conversations very quickly because they generally say the exact same thing most of the time. increasing relationship points with the villagers. Eventually you will start getting requests from them. You can get better requests. The more friendly you are, the better rewards. Also, the higher quality items that you fulfill a request with, the better the rewards. In here, we're going to get additional grass seeds as well as crops and additional fertilizer types as we unlock additional stars. Doc Juniors is the most that will be affected with the increase of relationship points and stars for Lechtonbury Village. I tend to get all of my processing done through Doc. Once we're done at the wall, I'm going to run home so I can show you where we're at with rock and ore from yesterday. Now I did hit all of the rocks that I could reach. You'll notice there are still a few rocks around town. Those are ones that would warp me back home before I could finish breaking them down. So we'll clean those up today, since we will now have no more limitations that warp us back home on this day with how much land we have unlocked right now. This is Ver, first sprite. I've never been able to tell if it's a boy or a girl. Maybe you can tell me your opinions in the comments. My mom, who also plays this game, thinks it's a girl because the flowers in the hair. But I think magical beings could be, neither if they don't want to be. It's a sprite. It's magic. Who knows? I just assumed that it was male because this particular sprite is hungry all the time, and it reminds me of every teenage boy that I have ever come into contact with at any point in my life. Then again, that's probably not true. I have a son, and he is much younger than a teenager, and he is still hungry all the time. So he would eat snacks 100% of the time, even in his sleep, I'd bet, if he could figure out how. Now, wood is important not just for building the town. There is another thing that I want to bring your attention to. All of these wooden fences here, they are, for the most part, decorative in this town. And one thing that we're doing while I run back to the farm here is during the tutorial we don't have bad weather, which is great because we don't have a fence to protect our crops from bad weather. We have to completely surround this entire area with a fence and for it to be protected. That requires a lot of lumber to be processed. Now, I just wanted to bring this up so that I could show you how much items we're at beginning of the day before we even start chopping any wood. Now, granted, I did pick up 2 of those regular mushrooms, but we have the fertilizer from the first day, and look at all of this stone. We have some iron ore, and I try to make it a rule that I go in and out of the mine over and over again during the tutorial until I have at least 5. And that seems to be the magical number that you're going to use for requests, but also for upgrades. More bronze is better, but this is a good start since we are not going to be able to upgrade our tools until we increase the level of our town enough. Bronze isn't particularly difficult to access. So it's not going to be that bad, but it's nice to have if you get a request that requires bronze. You will also need some in the storyline for some of the requests to fix other villages. Now, even collecting every bit of lumber here, I have had to do lumber runs over and over and over and over again, considering you cannot upgrade your axe out of any of the towns till you basically get to the very last town and you're coming up onto endgame. Lumber can be a challenge. You could be spending all day and all your stamina collecting lumber over and over again, which is why it's so very important that we spend all day today breaking every single tree. Yeah, having a restaurant without a kitchen that works is a problem, but I don't know why they ripped out the entire element for the stove if it was just supposed to be broken. As you can see, I have slivers of reputation already unlocked with each person. So, considering it's just day 3 and the very first day you couldn't barely talk to anybody, increasing reputation just through talking with people isn't that difficult. And you can see, even though increasing the reputation of the town through simply just speaking to people doesn't give a lot at once, it's still valuable. If you combine that with completing requests, as well as shipping from the town that you're in, it can cause a great deal of reputation to be increased in whatever village you park yourself in. The nice thing with having the buffer of sometimes I feel like you just need thousands of lumber. Not that chopping every single tree would get you that much. We'd be lucky to get over 1,000. I haven't really counted how much lumber I have at the end after passing in what's required, but it really does make a difference if you would like to unlock and open up Lilycana during the spring season. It makes a huge difference to have a big pile of lumber so that you can basically have 2 villages that you're working on year 1 in spring. I have in one of my playthroughs been able to unlock Lilycana and get the fishing festival up in time to actually use it and participate. I have not, however, gotten the flower festival up in time to attend the flower festival. That just seems to be something outside of what I've figured out how to do. I'm sure somebody will come along who's smarter than me and figure out how to do it. But being able to unlock Lilycana helps with trying to unlock the festival here in Lechtenberg. Now, Lechtonbury is a perpetually spring town. That means if you're looking to get any hybrids that mutate from any particular seed in springtime, you can plant it here in Lechtonbury, and you have a chance that it will mutate into whatever it is that you're trying to get. That's where the quality comes in and where you want to fertilize it so that you can increase the quality to increase your odds of getting additional hybrids. Now, because of the boundaries that it warped you home from yesterday, that big rock in the distance there, I was unable to break it because anytime I would get close to it, it would send me right on back home. Which, to be honest, I actually use that as a free, quick warp home whenever I want to drop off a shipment of stone so I don't get too full, especially when I'm in the mine and I'm going several times to try to find enough bronze in case I get that request, or just so that I have some on hand to help unlock the next town called Lilikana. There is a couple of quests where you're required to have some bronze, so having it on hand helps. You will get more just in trying to unlock the barn, which requires ore that is much deeper in the mine. You will not be able to get that deep during the tutorial to try to find the ore that you need to fix your barn. But having all of this lumber, all of the stone, iron, and some bronze gives you a hand up when you're trying to get all of the buildings, including your own barn, fixed. This particular part of the game is not open world. Once you open up the world, it can get a little overwhelming if you don't give yourself some directions. So to make it a little easier on ourselves, we're going to go spring, summer, fall, winter. I doubt we'll continue that far on in the walkthrough unless people tell me it's useful and would like me to. This area right here looks like it's pretty well done, but we can even chop these trees right in the middle of town. It's kind of rude to drop them on people, but they don't seem to mind. So I chop them even if there's a house in the way or, say, a small child. Because Eric and Anna like to play under the trees and I steal their shade. Now, it kind of makes me sad to cut down all these trees because I love the cherry blossoms. I guess I'm just partial to the pink trees. But it's for a good cause. We're trying to save the world, right? Yeah, Eric was getting a little too close to where I was chopping that tree there. Now, you'd be surprised at how much wood is required to fix each town, especially if you're trying to progress them to the point where you unlock all of the materials, seeds, upgrades. In the end, your goal will be to get all of these villages up to level 5 in your stars, just so that you have everything unlocked that you possibly can, including the number of seeds. You can purchase seeds from any of the general stores. They generally have a limit on the seeds once you've opened up the seeds. And if you want a higher limit on the seeds, you have to increase the reputation for each town. Now, We do have this area opened up far more, and we're going to be able to go down into this area that has the waterfall. There's a few things that I want to make you aware of beforehand. The waterfall area has some secrets in it that will pop up later that'll drive you crazy, and because it looks like you should be able to reach them. One of them is a tree we will be unable to reach and chop because it is on an island, which seems to be unreachable in this season. This game goes on the opinion that water flow rises and lowers basically depending on what season it is. So in the hotter seasons, when the water tends to dry up because of the heat, the water goes lower, and then you can walk along the ground to reach seemingly unaccessible islands. And the other season where this becomes helpful is in winter. So either summer or winter, if you see something on an island that you really want and you can't figure out how to get out there, it probably means you're in the wrong season, and you'll have to try again when you're in a different season. Now, one thing that we want to pay attention to when we get all of these trees cut, they're eating up the small amount of space that we have. So as you can see, we're not even halfway done, but we are halfway full on the trees. I am going to let myself get absolutely full so that you can see what happens when we try to grab something but our pockets are full. It's not something that you see much here in the tutorial, but especially when we unlock seeds and how you can gather the seeds later on, which happens, I believe, game day 5. That is when, or spring 5, the first year, that is when you're going to have to be aware of your limit of your pocket size. Now, the nice thing about harvesting all the same item is that they stack up to 99. However, when we're going seed farming to just get seeds so that we can grow crops, it is not going to stack easily because there's so many different types of crops and seeds, and we can easily, if we don't pay attention to our limits of our storage, end up not being able to fit them in our pockets as we find new ones. So it's important to keep the storage in mind. The stamina is another thing that's going to be very highly restrictive here in the beginning game. So one reason why we're doing this walkthrough is so that I can show you where the very first horse is, the easiest one to tame as quickly as possible, and give you tips and tricks on how to tame the horse, so that basically as soon as your barn is built and as soon as you start taming your horse, you can start using it to ride around town, so that just walking around and exploring doesn't eat up all of your stamina, and you can save your stamina for things like gathering lumber, mining to get rare ores or gems, things that you're going to need in order to progress the game and earn money. Now, gems are a good way to earn money if you process them and get the gems cut at one of the workshops like Doc Jr.'s workshop. You can sell those cut gems for a lot more than a raw gem. And the nice thing about that is it is decent money. Not the best. I think that fishing by far outstrips mining when it comes to the amount of money that you can make, especially because fishing is a lot more of a guarantee. In the mine, you may or may not be able to find the type of gems that are high quality or high value. You may or may not need those gems later on for upgrading things on your farm, progressing your storyline, or for fulfilling requests. But fishing is very reliable. There are always fish once you fish a pod all the way up. If you just wait a little while, the fish come back same day. You don't even have to wait the next day. They come back same day, and you can fish even more fish from that pod. Fishing is not a favorite from the people that I've spoken to. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it, but it is useful. I do have a fishing tutorial that if you find fishing difficult, if you find it not as fun in the beginning game, I can completely understand. It gets vastly easier, far, far easier when you get higher ranked fishing poles. So your brand new basic fishing pole, it makes it quite challenging to catch fish, but the tutorial will walk you through best ways to catch fish, even if you don't use bait, just so that you can progress your story enough to get the new fishing rods. We'll go through all of that here to when we unlock Lilicana, because Lilicana is the summer village, and that one focuses primarily on fishing. Now this rock indicates an area that I was unable to travel to, which is the entrance into this waterfall area. You can see there's plenty of grass down here, lots of trees. There is also flowers, so we're going to pick up some of the flowers and stick them in our storage. Since we haven't unlocked any shipping, we're not going to ship anything. We're still in the save everything phase. But once shipping opens up, I wouldn't recommend shipping everything because you never know if you're going to need something for a request, for a quest, or for a recipe. I keep a few of everything. It does mean that your storage fills up very quickly, especially as you get mutations. But you won't need the mutations that much, and I'll tell you in the walkthrough the ones that you want to hang on to increase your, or to decrease the time it takes for you to unlock things in the storyline, or things that are going to be important to you. So here, this is going to be basically in the beginning game. The town in Lechtenbury is going to be mostly a flower plot. When we reach Lilicana, we're actually going to have some of the flowers there that we're going to need for Lechtenbury because we're trying to get some necessary hybrids that will be useful in late game, that also are useful in unlocking the festival here in Lechtenbury. When you get a hybrid, you get one hybrid item as well as the original item that you were growing. So you're never out the one that you planted, but you might get a bonus on top of that, getting a hybrid item. And some of them are very helpful, especially when you're trying to find certain things that are needed to unlock other festivals in other towns. Now these flowers, they are just like the mushrooms and bamboo. You can, when it comes to spawn time, you can come back and pick them up. The very next day they'll all be gone, but they'll start popping up one at a time after that. We get 5 of them. You can hand them out as gifts by clicking on your inventory, going into hold, and then speaking to somebody you want to give them to. You cannot eat them. They are low value in shipping, but they are necessary to unlock the Lechtenbury Festival. So that is one thing that we are going to be hanging on to them for. Well, technically it's not for the festival, it's for something that happens tomorrow. And trying not to spoil it, just know that we are going to need to keep these flowers and we don't want to hand them out to everybody so that there's none left. Or we'll have to figure out how we can purchase some when they become available in the grocery store for purchase. Most of everything that you need to purchase, or that you might need to purchase like that, you can get for free. And so why spend the money when you can get it for free? Now, see how that one tree on that island we cannot reach. And that's because of the waterfall, the pond. We can get this far and no farther. In the summertime, the water level goes down and a pathway pops up so that we can cross over into the middle of that island. And that's typical for any of the islands that have things on them that you might want. Now, one thing that I want to bring your attention to, these mushrooms that popped up over here are going to be a part of our rotation when we are now looking for food items to put in our storage for when we are available and ready to go farther into the mine to try to get better ore and things that are necessary for unlocking both our barn and for requests, as well as for items that are necessary for unlocking upgrades in other towns. Now, we have long ago gotten all of the wood that's required for this pass-in, and we could have turned it in because these are things that I could have done and in the middle of the night. But I like to travel around in the day. It's easier to see if there's something on the ground that I need to pick up. When you do get the mount for the horse, you'll still see the sparkles that you can see on that clam over there and on this razor clam. These also will respawn intermittently. They're not as quickly to respawn as the mushrooms and bamboo shoots are. Even these stones will pop up before we get those clams back. So when we're on the mount though, and we're looking for things like those clams, we do not have to dismount to pick them up. Just ride over them, stop until you see A, and pick them up by hitting A while you're still mounted on your mount. Now, there is more than just the horse available as a mount. The horse is not the best mount. It is just the easiest to achieve without having to purchase it, since you can tame it in the wild, in the breezy plains, as soon as we unlock the little hole in the wall enough to open up and be able to travel to it. We will not be able to tame it completely or bring it to our farm until the barn is done, but that is actually a lot easier than some people have had luck with. I created my mining guide specifically with that in mind because we've gotten that question over and over again. There is one particular type of ore that is necessary and difficult to locate if you don't know how to navigate the mines once we unlock dowsing in the mines. I've created a mining guide that will help with that. It is specifically geared towards finding the silver ore. I will be making a more advanced mining guide for other mines to find things like alexandrite and Some of the other more difficult to locate ores to show both where they can pop up and how you can get there on small amounts of stamina, so you know how to get down there without having to worry about being overpowered, I guess. Plus, it'll be later on in the game when we can start upgrading our tools, which makes a huge difference when it comes to stamina. This platform right here, where these trees are, is one that we weren't able to access any previous day before, and you can see there's 2 mushrooms. This will start being on our daily route as we go and look for foraging items to increase our food supply so that we can do additional things every day, like fishing. Fishing does take stamina. The fish themselves are very valuable in stamina, but you do lose stamina while you're fishing, so it's important to have something to eat until you can get those valuable fish, and then you have to make a determination on if the fish, which tend to be better stamina-wise to eat than some of these items like mushrooms, if you want to sell them for the higher price that they provide, or if you want to keep them for the stamina increase in case you need to, say for example, get farther down in the mine. Now, this wood is important not only for fencing around your crops, it's also important for increasing the size of your barn, the size of your house, both of which are required to increase your capacity. Once you upgrade your house with having an unrealistic amount of wood, as well as being able to upgrade the wood using very difficult processes, it also is required for building bridges to be able to get to farther areas and unlock other parts of the world. So, lumber is one of the most important materials here. You use it in every upgrade, including in your tool upgrades, even in the watering can, which is complete metal. You will need at least some wood when you take it in to get it upgraded from Doc Jr. So that's why we are taking the time to go through and break every tree. Let's take a look and see where we're at on how many. See, we are full here, so we're going to very quickly be able to see what happens when we cannot carry another thing because we are just too full. This is why it's very important throughout the day to head home or to a shop where there is storage, or I should say access to your storage. If you are out and about in different towns, it may not be convenient to get back to your own storage, so if you head to the general store or to an animal store or to a farming or gardening store, flower shop in this case, once it's there and unlocked, there is a little shelving unit. It looks like a little drawer just to the right hand side of each of the shopkeepers' desks where the counter is. There we go. So you can see our bag is full. Here is some wood here. We cannot pick it up because we are too full. This will be a challenge when we're gathering different types of seeds, but it's also very painful when you are getting really deep in the mine and you have to figure out, okay, do I have any stone that I can get rid of? What about this type of gem? Is this type of gem less valuable or less rare than this new gem that I found? It's you'll get a feeling for it. You probably will be getting rid of a lot of stone, a lot of iron. Even the bronze is going to be a lot less useful once you are able to get deep enough in the mines that you have to make these type of decisions. So, looking over here, we're at not quite 8,000 or 800. Not bad for a half, or getting, I would say we're more than halfway done with chopping all the trees. And we're not going to bother going back into the mine. You absolutely can if you want to take advantage of this early time frame just to get some more ore that you can sell for money. Since we are still in a time frame where stamina and time are meaningless during this tutorial. Now, if you're in the mine and you drop something because you have no room, once you leave the mine to empty out your bags, it's gone forever. But you can see our lumber here is still there. We are going to have to chop down the whole tree and the stump to get that lumber that ended up in the middle of the stump. A rendering issue right there. But it's fine. We got to it. We were planning on chopping it all the way down anyway. You can, if you choose, not leave or not chop the stump all the way down when you get farther in. But if you are gathering lumber anyway, I would chop the stump all the way down because you're going to need the lumber anyway, and you're not spending as much time searching for another tree to chop down. This is actually a very good town to come to when you are doing a lumber run. The trees are plentiful, they are close together, you can chop a lot of them. Assuming that you have a higher grade axe or more stamina, you can get more stacks of lumber in the same time frame coming here than you would be in other areas that you may not have unlocked or have a warp point available to, especially in the beginning game. So if you run out of lumber, which you will, 100% you're going to run out of lumber, you're going to have to gather more. Even doing this, eventually, because it is so necessary for so very many things. Then, in 4 days, all of these trees will be back, and you can chop them down again. Now that'll be outside of the tutorial time frame. You will be using your stamina. You'll be fighting against time that is one of the major constraints of this game. Now, quality of life on this game, where you don't have to transfer to different tools. If you walk up to a tree, you know to grab an axe. If you walk up to a rock, you know to grab the hammer. In the mines, you know if you're digging, you're going to use the pickaxe and not the hoe. Other Harvest Moon games, the hoe is what you used to dig to try to find a way down. It's nice to not have to transfer back and forth. I played many Harvest Moon games. I've also played the branch off of the Harvest Moon season that wasn't Natsume necessarily. I don't care who created the game. My opinion happens to be with how much I enjoyed the game. And how much I enjoy the game completely depends on quality of life. Now, this game is far more difficult in the beginning than it is once you have increased the upgrades on your tools and increased your stamina, and that tends to be similar to all of the games. The time constraint on this game seems to be a lot more tight than some of the other games. And I've heard that a lot. Most people have noticed there is a problem with how these games have a time constraint where the daytime just passes way too fast. It gets better as you can chop down trees a lot faster without as much stamina using the higher level axes. You don't spend as much time chopping the same tree as you would, because you'll get two or three lumber instead of just one each time you cut down the tree, which means that it will fall a lot quicker using a higher level axe. A higher level axe also uses less stamina, which means exponentially increases how quickly you can chop down a tree and gain the benefit of all the lumber. Same with all of the tools, with all of the different ways that they are used. So this being a big pain in the beginning of the game means that you're not constrained by as much, and you more quickly unlock more of the upgrades faster once you have to be responsible for both your stamina and time passage. Now we are almost done here. We may have to stop into one of the shops and grab some of the stone before we pass it in, because I think I put away all of my stone. But once we get these last few trees, we'll pass it in. We'll finish that day, and that will be it for part 2 of the walkthrough. Part 3, we will probably combine days 4 and 5 together, and that will be the last of the tutorial in the walkthrough. Then we have to start making some very strategic decisions about how we're going to spend our day and what town we're going to focus on, that type of thing. Now, thank you for sticking with me throughout all of the chopping. I do have a couple of them where I don't go through quite so much because I just speed up time during the chopping, but ultimately I decided being able to provide additional insight into the game is probably valuable. And rather than combining the 2 days of the day 3 and the day 4, I thought that just having this single game, or the single day, be part of the walkthrough all by itself, because it's such a big heavy day, there's a lot in there, I thought that would probably be best. This little drawer set is where you're going to find, and you can hit Y to organize what's in your pockets or to organize what's in your storage. See how in my pockets everything's in the middle now. Hit Y on the Switch controller, it switches it up, and as well as in the storage. Let's pass this in, finish up our day, and we'll call it good. The nice thing is, tomorrow you will have your own kitchen. Won't be as big as the one that Doc Jr. puts in for a restaurant, but that makes sense. You live by yourself, you probably don't need as many burners as a full-sized restaurant would, even for a village as small as this one. And that's it. You can see all of the trees are gone. We've hit all of the and broken up all of the rocks. There's only that one single tree left here, which makes me sad, but tomorrow we will start again and continue on with the next part of the walkthrough and the next 2 days worth of the tutorial. Thank you for staying with me the whole through, watching this walkthrough. If you have any comments, please make them below. If you'd like to see any specific tutorials, or if you want me to go into anything that we have gone into, if you want to even give your opinion on the Natsume break, where we have the story of seasons and the harvest moon, and what your opinions are on there, I'd be interested in reading them. Personally, I'm not going to really let it sway me on whether I appreciate a game more or less. To me, it's all about the end product. But feel free to make your opinion known. Thank you, and have a great day.